Blah. Y'all already know what it is. Your boy Yaakov. What it do? The outlet to reality. The holdest podcast in Vegas and Chicago. What up? This is the place where you want to hide from your drama or maybe your baby mama. Just kidding. But anyways, fans, thank you for staying tuned. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Chit chit. And today we have a very special guest who I consider a friend, a DJ. Give it up for Caramia. What's up, girl?
Hello. My name's Glittr Glitch, also known as Caramia, but I usually go by Caramia with my friends. So,
I feel honored. So I do want to share so my fans and your fans get to know this part. So I want to share a little bit how we met. So pretty much the Moisture House set up a big Shabbat event where they had Kobe's grandma, a Holocaust survivor, share her own story, surviving, the how was it for being Jewish and being persecuted, with the Nazis. It was just crazy. And I saw like a few girls next to me, they were crying when they were hearing the story. It was very powerful, very moving. And it was even amazing that this experience organization cater for the whole meal, the whole Shabbat dinner, which was beautiful. When I got there, right, and I was like, man, this is a beautiful thing. This is actually the second Holocaust survivor I've ever met in my life. And then before that, I was just chilling at the kitchen with the boys, the Moisture House, and we're just drinking. And I see this girl walk by, right? Really tall. And I said, wait, this is Noah's mentor. I think I'm right. I said, she looks like that DJ, but I'm not sure. So I went up to her. I was like, I'm sorry, excuse me. Can I ask you a quick question? She's like, yeah. Are you Caramia, the DJ? And she goes, she's like, are you the podcaster, Yaakov? I'm like, yeah. I was all snap. I felt recognized. And when we were talking, I felt like you were so like humble. I could tell you had like this energy, this fire that you really love, the entertainment world, wanting to get into music, producing, and you have so many dreams. And I think it's a beautiful thing. So I want you to share a little bit about your experience in this Shabbat get together.
oh yeah, so it was such a beautiful experience. Thank you again to Moishi House. Shout out for the beautiful event. It was just so eye-opening. I was actually very excited about the Shabbat dinner like 2 weeks prior. I was telling my best friend Isa, I was like, Isa, it's Shabbat. I'm so excited. It's gonna be a beautiful experience. We kind of get to go into the Jewish world in a way. Like this is like a very kind of a private thing. What I learned is that it's a very private thing where you be in the moment. And so to be able to enter that space and to be allowed to hear like the beautiful stories and kind of understand the customs was so amazing. So 10 out of 10 experience. And if you ever get invited to one, I highly suggest going, learning, and just being open to learning what their culture is about and their religion too.
That's amazing, girl. And what about what was your thought when you first met me when we first talked? Do you remember?
Yeah. So, okay. So I was standing next to Noah, and then I think I was standing next to Michael, and then you were there. And I think we just started talking naturally. Like, I think we were just talking about Vegas. I asked you, like, oh, are you just moved here? And we were talking about Vegas, how you got here. And then all of a sudden, I was like, man, I feel like I recognize you, but I don't know where. And like, I just felt like you just had that energy about you that was there was something more, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And then I walked away for a second, and then I came back and I was like, wait, you are the guy with the podcast and like with the message. And then I remembered your Instagram handle, and then I said it, and you were like, oh yeah, that's me. And so we were talking, and you know, it was such an amazing experience talking to you in person and kind of getting your vibe because your everybody's vibes on Instagram, including mine, are not the same. And I think we discussed that too, where I just don't seem the same way I do on Instagram. And same with you. It's like, well, kind of you have a good job and way of portraying yourself on Instagram. I got to work on mine, but yeah, it was just amazing just putting the picture to the face, and I just all I remember is good vibes and a good conversation.
Oh man, that's amazing. Thank you. That was very kind. Now I do want to share a little bit. So Shabbat is a beautiful time, like you said, it's private. It's a time where you are with your family. You don't use technology. I'm still working on that. I haven't got there yet. But for you, Karamia, what that experience and Judaism, like you learning about like different traditions, what does it what can you share about it?
Yeah, so going into it, knew nothing at all. And going in, I was like, okay, I understand that this is a dinner, but what does it mean and what's gonna happen? So I sit down and I sit next to Noah, and he has the Kiddish cup, I believe, and that's when it all starts. And you bring out a book and they start reading. And so I'm like, okay, this is interesting. So I'm assuming it's like a prayer. And so the prayer begins, and instantly the vibes of the room, like even though I don't know what's happening or what's being said, I can follow along by just the energy of the room. Everybody just kind of gets into this, like hones in, and just all of a sudden all like everybody just starts focusing in on what's happening right now. And of course just one person's talking in the room, but it just goes beyond that. Like everybody honed in what's happening and why we're here and why we're gathered here. And I don't think I've ever experienced anything like that. I don't think I've ever experienced anything close to that, where it's silence, where it's focused in, where there's again no technology, nobody's on their phones, nobody distracted, and it's amazing to kind of see that. But then when the prayer broke, and then I can't remember exactly, but I believe everybody got to wash up their hands, and so you're just learning each custom and the reasons why. Everything in Judaism has a reason, and it's such a beautiful reason. When I started to ask, like, oh, what's happening now, what's happening now, everybody would answer because it's like a totally open religion. On top of that, there was just the meaning behind each custom was just so amazing. And then the challah bread broke, and we started like going into other things. Like there was a part where we didn't talk after washing hands. That was beautiful. And then there's just so many reasons. I don't know, just to see something have so much meaning behind it, and so carefully crafted and beautifully organized, was just so amazing. All the way from the beginning to the dinner, just breathtaking.
Wow, no, that's real beautiful. I gotta say, with in the Jewish religion, everything we say, like according, like what you were saying about the hands before the wine, the kiddush cup, the bread, the challah, we always say a small prayer, giving thanks to Hashem for what He did, what He made. And it's a beautiful thing because I think of have you ever seen the documentary The Secret?
I
You
believe
know?
so. It's about like wanting, wish, like that mindset is what brings in, right, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. You're on it. You're on it, girl. I like that.
I
So,
watched it so long ago.
so it talks about a lot about law of attraction, having gratitude. If you have a negative day, let's say a bad day, you can change your day by thinking all the things you're grateful for around you. And so you change it. So one of the most powerful prayers that Jewish people do when they get up in the morning, um, I'm gonna say real quick in Hebrew and English is Modani Lifanecha Melechai Vekayam Shecheche Zarta. I think I'm missing one more. But in English, it says, I gratefully thank you, all living eternal King, for you return my soul within compassion, and abundance is your faithfulness. So do you see those big words, faithfulness, abundance? I am grateful. So powerful to say that before we even do anything. When we get up, it just shows like, yo, I could lose everything, but I have that. So I just wanted to share that little, something that kind of connected what you were saying. And I do want to know a little something. So my fans and everybody, because this is more about you. So I want to know, tell us a little bit about your background, like where your parents are from, and then what got you into pursuing DJ.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so my name is Caramia. My alias is Glittr Glitch. But before that, I was just regular Caramia. I'm half Vietnamese, half Italian. My dad was born in the United States, but my mom is from Vietnam. She immigrated here, and my mom married my dad. You know, and then I grew up here in Vegas for the longest time. And it was in the Henderson area, I guess. But growing up in high school and middle school, honestly, that's when I kind of started my musical career. I was in orchestra and I was in orchestra up until from middle school to high school. So that's what, like 7 years or something like that. Played the violin. Prior to that, I did like piano in elementary school, like from 1 through 5. So that's like 5 years. And then I picked up instruments here and there, but I never took it seriously because it's just one of those things where it's hard to make it big, and they kind of teach you young, like not teach you young that you can't make it, but more so this is something an extracurricular, but the chances of actually maybe taking it far is very slim. But they'll never tell you that. They'll always support you, my teachers. But yeah, let's see. So I always had a musical background, but I went to college. I did CS and cheer for like 2 years, and I majored in political science. And then I transferred over to UNLV, also majoring in political science, but now I picked up a minor in marketing. So I've been doing that, and I've been slaying, if I do say so myself, learning about all the stuff. Specifically, I'm very passionate about environmental policies right now. Um, and then aside from the college aspect, I've been working and kind of living a regular life. So what sparked me to get into DJing was very funny. It actually happened 2 years ago during COVID. Right when COVID started, March 13th, I was at a party and they had decks. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I have, mind you, this was 2020. So it's been a year or 2 years since I graduated high school, left the musical world. Like once high school, all right, left the violin, don't even know how to touch it anymore. But, I touched a deck for the first time, like March 13th, 2020. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. It to me, the best way to describe it was understanding the computer world and then also the music world all into this new high tech thing. And I was just like, wow, this is so cool. And then COVID happened, so I never saw a deck again because that ended. And the decks that they use were just like the party kind. So since we couldn't, it was isolation, we couldn't see that. So then I bought a mini deck, and I actually didn't touch that for like a year because it's very intimidating. That's the one thing I'll say. Like before I got into all of this, I was intimidated to DJ for like a year, and I didn't want to do it. I did want to do it, but I knew my heart wanted to do it, but I didn't want to do it. And then, you know, COVID lifted. And then last year, I started scouting and I asked for, like, who's hiring for some DJs, who's looking for DJs, and if they're willing to accept new talent. And then I got my first gig. And from there, it kind of people, I guess, started picking up, but also it's about like outreaching too. But yeah, that's a little bit about my background and how I came here.
That's amazing. I think that your journey was amazing. I gotta ask you this. Now I'm gonna pick at your brain because you just said you play the violin. So when you DJ, do you throw in some violins just to bring back that was where you started to show a little bit of you?
That's a great idea. I might take that. No, when DJing though, not exactly, but I guess I can talk a little bit more about my background. I guess I didn't go in too much into detail. I do want to include the violin aspect in my production in the future, just because you have to pay homage to your roots. Know your roots, people. And violin is definitely my roots. Classical music is definitely a part of my roots, but anything I put out, do not assume it's going to sound like Lindsey Sterling. Okay. It's not going to be like that. Um, but actually, when it comes to my DJ style, I love, specifically, I love doing EDM. The genres would be like house. And then underneath, I love tech house, bass house. But lately, I've been finding my, flow from Inside Out, where it's, or no, not that, the other movie where it's like they're in this flow state. Whenever I find flow state, it's usually in funk and disco, and also just bringing back oldies from when I grew up, like rock era stuff, or I played like just like Earth, Wind, and Fire era, Diana Ross era, just
Ooh.
those feel good, positive energy, just amazing music. And that's also for my childhood too. My dad went to college for jazz. He wanted to be a jazz teacher, and he found a different route when he moved to Vegas, um, in the food industry, and now he's doing his thing in the beverage industry. But prior to that, we grew up with jazz in the house. We grew up with world cultures in the house. Like we play Vietnamese music because he knew that's what I was, but also he'd play Middle Eastern and also Indian music, where forgive me if I'm not saying these names right, but just world culture musics, just to recognize that, look, there's more out there, more than what's on the radio. And you got to recognize that, but also make your own opinions on what you like. And I think that was a very powerful thing that my dad did for me. So, yeah.
Well, that's beautiful. It sounds like you are very close to your parents, and you have a very. I can see music is in your blood. Like you can't get rid of it. It's following you. I'm sorry to tell you, like you're saying, but but I do want to say I know you're now getting into the music industry, right? With coming up with your own producing. So can you share a little bit about that? Because that's a whole nother world too.
Yeah, well, I love playing other people's tracks. Like nobody, like that's what makes DJing so unique, to be able to showcase to other people, look what other unique things other people have done. But also it actually started with like people making like comments like, oh my gosh, like if you were to produce, this would be your sound, Caramia. Or, oh, if you were to produce, this would be your sound. This is it. And I'm like, okay, what is my sound? Like, I don't know. Like, I haven't produced yet. So, you know, I actually had help from my friend Nate. His DJ name is also Echoes. And, he got into producing a year ago, and the progression that he has made was so inspiring that I was like, okay, I feel safe enough to enter this world. Because I've seen him in the ups and downs in a way, what it takes to kind of produce at a certain level. And now he's killing it. He's getting gigs under the labels that he wants, and I'm like, okay, so I see the journey, and now it's the question of, will I want to take it? Do I want to take it? And I do. So I started picking up like this EDM production course, and I'm still halfway through it. It's like coding in a way. It's just understanding all the aspects of the EQ, cutting, mixing, all these things. And it's very complicated. And I'm not just saying that it genuinely is hard for somebody I thought I knew music through orchestra, through all these things. No, it's not music. It's definitely something else. And to be able to get into that now, I'm halfway there. I'm not all the way there, but also this journey is never going to end. There's always going to be stuff to learn. So I'm just starting on my journey. Let's leave it there.
I love it. I love it. I think that's great. I think, in life, you always want to evolve, right? You always want to adapt. And I can see that you've definitely have changed. You've grown, right? You went from playing the violin, you left it, went to DJ. Now you're trying, doing new things, producing. Now you're learning. It's like you said, it's almost like a new language, learning these things in music, right? So for you to do that, that's just beautiful. It's very inspiring, especially for young people. And I do want to ask you, are there any mentors that has helped you along this way? I know you mentioned Echo, but anybody else that you can say, doesn't have to be a DJ, but could be someone in your life that should say, hey, you got this, you could do this. come on, or let me show you this, So if you can share a little bit about that, we're gonna get a little deep.
Yeah, so there are honestly the best mentors that I had was just you would never expect, because like you said, it doesn't have to be a DJ. I think most people think like, who are your other favorite DJs, but it's more so like the people that I've met through the journey. um I have to shout out to Isabella and Anya. These two sisters are two of my best friends that believed in me. Like they were there at that party 2020, right when COVID started, that saw the spark in my eye, and they were like, "Girl, you got to do it." And they've been supportive this entire time. Um, and they kind of teach me in their own ways by sending me tracks. And then from there, I kind of go down the rabbit hole of what these tracks like show. And I think in a way that is teaching without them even recognizing that they're not into the industry or anything, but they're just by sending knowledge is so helpful to me. Um, I think one of my most favorite recent ones is Jim Walker. He is one of the most like what is it called when it's like pseudo famous or like infamous? He's one of those people that is so infamous, but he's so humble. I don't know if you met him at Kasi, but he was there and he was vibing. But he was there too. And he sends me tracks and he knows the people to start learning from, start like understanding how they mix, understanding what kind of music they play, and like what is this genre, what is this genre. And there's house, and then there's like tech house and bass house, but then he'll go like deep into it, and he's like the most music connoisseur out there. Greg Davis is one of those other people too. He's DJing right now for at We All Scream, very like common, and he's been helping me too. There's just so many people. Neek, man, like Echoes is one of the biggest ones though. Like Echoes and Mallory, his fiance, they have been helping me so much, producing wise, and just telling me like keep going, because production is just so hard to keep going on, especially when you feel defeated, when something sounds like bad, so bad, and like not even worthy for your own ears bad. But those they keep me going. There's so many other people like my sorority sisters, just everyday people, Noah, that just tell me to keep going. And it's incredible. It's just the support system around me are honestly my mentors. Not one specific person, but also specific people, if that makes sense.
No, that's great. I think we all need, some whether it may be guidance, mentorship. I remember when I started the podcast, I had no structure. It was just like random topics, and it was just me and my co-host saying random things. And then I get a call from my best friend. His name's Philip, and he was like, "Bro, I got to tell you something, but your podcast is horrible, bro." He said, "There's no structure." I'm like, "Dang, I got hurt." I said, "Brother," he said that. I was like, "Dang, brother, I feel it." He goes, "No, bro, it's real bad, dude. Like, you guys are just talking random stuff." He's like, "You need structure." And so I was like, you know what? I know he cares about me, so I'm gonna take notes. And so I started having a little format, right? And then I had another one of my cousins who I'm very close to in Chicago. He hit me up too, and he goes, "Man, I gotta be honest, but your intro is missing something. I don't know. I think maybe it's music or something. I'm not sure." And so I started using my resources, and then I finally got that logo, the one behind me. My cousin helped put together. He does like graphic design, and he owns his own company. He's like one of the CFO of the companies. And so it's so cool. And I was like, thank you, cuz, for doing it. He's only 20 at that time. He was only 24 years old. And I was like, yo, Primo, thank you. You know what I'm saying? I was like, this nigga. And it was so funny because we were in a road trip. He came to Vegas and we drove to Grand Canyon together. This is the first time he came to the West Coast. And we're driving, and I said, Primo, my flyer ain't looking that great. He said, "Don't worry, I'm gonna call my guy real quick. He'll make it in 2 seconds. I'll show what I'm thinking of, and then he's gonna adjust it. Boom, and then he had it done within 10 minutes in the car ride."
Wow.
I
That's
was,
insane. That's
I was
talent.
yeah, and I knew
That's
that.
talent.
Real. And I was like, man, thank you. And I told my primo that, I'll never forget this. And then like, I actually made this. When you hear it, when I finally edit it, before the podcast starts, it has a song that I actually created. It's very classical in a way. It's only a piano, and I forgot the other instrument, but I made it, and it just helps because outlet to reality is supposed to be a place to forget anything you're going through, and just like live the moment. So you hear it's very smooth, and it transition, but it's so dope. But I agree 100%. We all need feedback. I always say this to people: if you cannot take criticism or any feedback, you're not ready to pursue whatever you're trying to do, right? Whether it's acting, it's DJ or podcasts, because you need to hear these things. I always say this. There's a saying my mom always says that friends will tell you what you want to hear, but best friends tell you what you need to hear. And I think it's true. Sometimes we want people to always say, "Oh, you're doing great. Just keep it up." That's it. And that's really helping me out. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna tell you one more story real quick. One more. So when I did this big play in Vegas, it was a big play back in June last year. It's my biggest leading role. And I've been doing acting since I was like 7 years old. And when I moved here, I finally had a leading role. Usually I have like two lines in the play. I'm like the side character, but this was huge. So we get there, it's about 50 of us in this whole play production, like this big one. And so the director comes in, she's old school, but I love it. I love that she's like honest and blunt. She looks at everyone. We're gonna have a meeting, and we already did our rehearsal, right? And she looks at me and she goes, "Man, Dave, you did terrible." I don't know what you did, but you did terrible. And then she goes to the next person. Great job. Great job. Keep it up. I love it. Girl, it was so bad. It was
Oh yeah.
I felt so embarrassed. I was like, damn, I really suck. I went home. I started calling my friends, my family. I said, Ma, I think I suck. But I gotta do better. And so
Oh.
it actually pushed me to actually work on my craft. So I started hitting up like different friends and start practicing with, even at my job. I was practicing in front of my coworkers, and they would tell me, "No, you don't sound like the actor." Like, because I had to play like a 40-year-old uh rich white guy, and I can't use my accent how I sound right now. I have to sound very proper, so I had to change it. And so it was so cool to get that. And then when our rehearsal comes, right? This was like maybe like a month. I finally found my own flow. The director had another meeting. Watch this. She goes, "David, I don't know what you did, but I have nothing to say. You did amazing job. I want you to bring that for the actual play. And everyone, I need you to follow how David's doing it."
Wow.
So sometimes,
Wow. There you
right?
go. Like, there you go. I mean, like to be like what you didn't want to be, right? Like everybody else was like, okay, their personal best was their best, but to be the what's it called, the standard is something else. And that is what that story told me. And that is incredible that you were able to do that. Like, wow.
Thank you, girl. Thank you. I mean, I'm telling you, it was tough hearing that, but you know what? It makes me stronger. And I'm so happy for 2023. I think a lot of good things are happening. Here's another thing too. Like, I lived in Chicago my whole life, and I've never had any photo shoots, really. No one wanted to do a photo shoot with me. They say I'm too short, I'm too ugly. I'm sorry. That's what they told me. Every DM I got back from the agency and like from people, like, sorry, man, you just too short and you ugly. And like, I'm like, dang. just like that. So I kept the comments, I kept the screenshot and everything because I looked at it. It's like, damn, this is a sad story. Yes. So when I moved here in Vegas, and I started, just being myself, right, doing my own little TikTok because I teach dance and martial arts, and I start posting it on TikTok every Monday, and just something different about me. Now I'm getting photographers and people that are professional dancers hitting me up saying, I would love to do a photo shoot with me, with you. Can we please set up a day and time? I said, is this real? Because I know I'm short and ugly. So please tell me this ain't no joke. You know, you know, in your head, it still stays in your head, right? I'm not 6'3", Calvin Klein, blue eyes, and looking fresh. You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
But the good thing is it's better. I'm so proud of myself. I finally have done so many. Like October, I probably had like maybe 30 photo shoots. And I didn't have to pay for none.
That's it. That's it. Money. Money, baby. That's what we're talking about. Start from the bottom, now we're here. No, I'm just kidding. But like
Hey.
actually, no, I'm so serious. Like that's incredible. But I understand like that same mentality though. Like you always in the back of your mind, subconsciously, you always have those comments in those heads, especially if you screenshotted them. That's so funny. I thought you screenshotted them because I'm gonna remember this. I'm gonna remember this. Because look where you are now.
That's true. That's true. Thank you. Thank you. No, this means a lot. I and I'm very happy, to have you on the podcast. It means a lot. Um, I'm gonna wrap it up, guys. This is the Outlet to Reality, the oldest podcast in Vegas and Chicago every Tuesday. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Ching! Y'all know where to find me. I'm on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, the Outlet to Reality. My TikTok is at Yaakov28, and my Snapchat is Take One Take. And Caramia, where can my fans find you?
On Instagram at Glittr Glitch, GLITTR GLITCH. No E. We don't like them.